And people wonder why I get distracted by things so often, and I'm leaving projects that are better left for the back burner, putting on the front burner. But that's what happens when you live with someone like me. Hello, this is a pretty different video from what I've done before, but a couple of years ago, I think you guys will remember, I uploaded a video where I showed you all my then Cyber Dragon collection, but since then my Cyber Dragon collection for Yu-Gi-Oh has increased. Not significantly, but I got a couple of better, more interesting cards. Like I got Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon and a few other really good Cyber Dragon cards. But I decided I was going to move away from the Cyber Dragons, even though it is my favorite archetype, and go to my second favorite archetype, which is Toons. Now, Toon monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are one of the most underwhelming archetypes out there. But in the anime, oh my god, it was one of the most broken ones you could possibly create, because Toon monsters, as you would learn if you watch season 1 of the anime, and pretty much any time Pegasus appeared after that, Toon monsters were immune from being destroyed as long as Toon World was on the field. They could basically just create like cartoony scenarios where they avoid death. And they also can attack your life points directly, stuff like that. It didn't really transcend that way into the Toons like initially, and the Toon monsters were so heavily damaged by like initial strategy, like the initial initial hindrances to them, that they were pretty much unplayable for a long time. And then they started to randomly start giving them support, which is why I was like, okay, maybe I could get back into it. And it wasn't really until Duel Links that I learned just to the extent how many Toon monsters got put into this game. But nevertheless, I have built myself what I would call a Toon deck. I wouldn't say it's perfect. Sorry about that. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's definitely getting there. Especially with this bad boy leading the pack. This is the Toon Blackluster Soldier. Secret rare version of it, of course. And this is, in many cases, the best Toon monster in the game. It has the best stats, or at least the best attack for 3,000. I think it also shares that with the Blue Eyes Toon Dragon and Toon Ancient Gear Golem. But it also has a couple of great abilities that actually help it. One of the big ones is a Toon, often when you summon it, can't attack the turn it's been summoned. However, if your opponent doesn't have any Toon monsters, the minute that they can attack, you can just attack them directly no matter what. Toon Blackluster Soldier is one of 2 Toon monsters that does not have this limitation on it. That means it can just attack directly the turn it's summoned. Or you can use its other effect and target one card on the field and banish it. That's it. That's freaking filthy, and I freaking love that about this card. And it was I would say it was the last piece of the puzzle, but there are a few Toon cards I am missing. Most notably, Toon Buster Blader, Toon Goblin Attack Force, and I believe there is another card called Comic Hand, but I don't know if it's out yet in the States. I know it's in Duel Links, and I believe it's available in Japan, but I don't think it's here in the States yet, because that might be the most broken Toon card in the game. But we put him aside, and we look at some of the other Toon monsters. As you can see, we have Toon Cyber Dragon. Fits into the Cyber Dragon archetype because it is another card that is treated as Cyber Dragon, which is interesting. And you can special summon it, same way you can regular Cyber Dragon. And as you guys know, I love Cyber Dragon, so there's nothing wrong with that. Manga Reran is one of the first Toon monsters that came out, and as you can see, it's got the you have to pay 500 life points for it to attack. That was one of the big drawbacks of Toon monsters back then. And I really wish they would errata the Toons that have this effect, because I believe the The only toons that are affected by this are Manga Reran, Toon Mermaid, Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, and Toon Summon Skull. But still, I like having all of the toons I can get, and Manga Reran being one of the few that, well, isn't called Toon Reran, it's Manga Reran. I believe they did errata this card to make it searchable by certain toon effects, but if they haven't yet, I remember they were talking about it, but I don't think they did. If they didn't, that's bad, because then this card's basically just dead on arrival. But don't worry, there are ways around that Toon that players have described so far. Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, which of course is Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragon turned into a cartoonish replica. Definitely love that scene in the anime when Pegasus turns the Blue Eyes into one. It's like the ultimate way to humiliate someone. Just make a frickin' joke of the monster that they've built their whole life around. And yes, Blue Eyes Toon Dragon is another one of those monsters that costs 500 life points to attack. But hey, what you gonna do? One of the later Toon monsters that come out was actually Toon Dark Magician. It still can't attack the turn it's summoned, but it has a really good effect that as you can see here, you can discard one Toon card from your hand, and then you can either special summon a Toon monster from your deck, or add a Toon spell or trap to your hand. So basically, if you have Manga Reran in your hand, you can get rid of that immediately and then go get a good Toon card as long as this card's out on the field. And since it's Toon World, since it's a Toon monster, not only does it still get to attack your life points directly, but this is one of the later ones in that when Toon World is destroyed, your monster isn't destroyed. So that makes this thing pretty damn lethal, all things considered. Pretty much most of the early game boss monsters got Toon versions of them, as you can see with Toon Summon Skull, who was another one of the Toon early game Toons that kind of got screwed over. This one got an errata, that now it's treated as an Archfiend card, so if you're an Archfiend player, you can use it. And as you can see, this is the Speed Duel version of it, because I got this back when they were releasing all the Speed Duel stuff. Back, I think it was like 2018, 2019, somewhere along those lines. Had that one sitting around for a while, and I didn't really have any use for it until I decided to build a Toon deck. Now, most of these cards, beyond the ones that say Speed Duel on them, I've only just gotten recently. So like this, Toon Barrel Dragon, is one I just got recently. And it has the same effect as Barrel Dragon, where it can destroy two monsters if you call the right coin toss in your favor. And it can't be destroyed while Toon World is on. It can't be destroyed. Well, it can't be destroyed. It can attack directly when Toon World is on the field. And since it's a later one, presto, that means it can't be destroyed when Toon World is destroyed. Only a few of the ones can be destroyed, namely all of the retro ones. Toon Ancient Gear Golem, which I'm surprised is not a card that gets more play in Toon decks, because it's freaking unreal. It's got the same effects of Ancient Gear Golem, where your opponent can't activate any spell or trap cards until the end of the damage phase. So basically, this nerfs any trap or spell cards you might have used to help your opponent to protect your monsters, which is pretty damn cool. Again, all things considered. We have the Red Eyes Toon Dragon, which has an effect that's similar to the Dark Magician, where you can special summon one Toon monster once per turn from your hand, ignoring summoning conditions, as long as it's not Red Eyes Toon Dragon. Great way to swarm your opponent's field very early on. So, like, if you can get, like, a couple of Toon monsters out quickly, then get this guy out, then you can get 2 Toon monsters out very quickly. That's how I used to beat a lot of players in Duel Links early on when I still played that game. Toon Dark Magician Girl is the other Toon monster that does not have the summoning sickness, as they call it. Which means when this card is summoned immediately, it can immediately attack. And this is one of those cards that makes people in Duel Links squirm, because it can do a ton of damage early on. It and the Toon Blackluster Soldier are just that good. I have 2 copies of the Toon Gemini Elf because they were later additions to Toon World, and they are still destroyed if Toon World is destroyed. However, however, they are not limited to just being on the field while Toon World is in play. You can summon these monsters whenever you want. It's just one of those, oh, well, they just blow up if Toon World goes, which is unfortunate. There are a bunch of other Toon monsters I have, and for the lower level monsters, I got as many of them as I could put into my deck without overloading it. Such as we have two Toon Cannon Soldiers. Cannon Soldier being one of the most broken cards in the game, where you could just freely just give up monsters, freely give up blah, 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 blah. Tribute one monster and inflict damage on your opponent's life points. Sorry, I needed a drink. This is errata though, because the original Cannon Soldier was so broken it had to get banned because it was limited to. It was not limited to once per turn. But hey, what are you gonna do? Now, Toon Mermaid, which is based off of the Red Archery Girl, is both the worst and best Toon monster to have in your deck. Let me move my laptop a bit down because I have more cards to show. The reason why it's one of the best is because it's a level 4 monster, special summoning it, as long as you have Toon World on your side of the field, you can just special summon it. And since it doesn't count as a normal summon, you can put, if you have 3 of them in your hand, that's 3 monsters right there that you can just special summon. And then, if you, for example, had an Obelisk the Tormentor, you could tribute all 3 to have Obelisk the Tormentor, or tribute them to get Blackluster Soldier, or Ancient Gear Golem, Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. You name it, you got it. But it is an early Toon monster, aka if it dies, if Toon World is destroyed, it's still destroyed. I'm going to have to split the Harpy Ladies up. That's a bit of a shame. We also have the Toon Harpy Lady, which has sort of like a nerfed Harpy's Feather Duster effect to it, in that you can special summon the card from your hand. Then if you can control another Toon monster, you can destroy one spell or trap your opponent controls. Not the best, but since you can special summon it, that's yet another monster you can special summon to your side of the field to serve as defense or tribute fodder as needed. And since I have 2 of them, I can do that as many times as I want. I also, as my last 2 real Toon monsters in the deck, have 2 Toon Masked Sorcerers. And it has the same effect as the Masked Sorcerer, in that if it inflicts battle damage, you draw a card. Now, the reason I have this is because it goes in line with one of the strategies I've implemented with my deck. But I will show you guys that momentarily as I just try to make more space. Hold on one second. Trying to make space. And not knock my headphones over, because I kind of need those. We're going to be doing a lot of recording this weekend. But it goes with one of my strategies that I'm using for this deck. Because when I look at my Toon deck, I look at monsters where I just want to get as many good monsters out as possible, use as many of their effects as possible, and if you can get a couple of good high-level monsters out quickly, you can win the duel. But if that doesn't happen, you need to have some fallback options, and as you'll see, I do have some decent fallback options. Now, the rest of the monsters in the deck are not necessarily Toon monsters, but some of them are classified as that, and then others are just monsters that could be helpful in case I run into any problems in the deck. Now, we have Parrot Dragon here, which for some strange reason has always been one of my favorite monsters in the game. I don't know why. It's just such a weird combination of a thing. Like, who would combine a parrot and a dragon? But Pegasus did use it, and he also used Toon Alligator as part of his deck. They're not Toon monsters, but they are cartoony. Same with the Dark Rabbit. But one thing you'll notice is that Dark Rabbit, and the two Toon Masked Sorcerers are just a few low-level Dark type monsters, which will come in handy with a certain trap card that I know you guys won't be surprised that I have in my deck. Now, the last four monsters to round out our deck are monsters that can either special summon themselves or have unique abilities. So, Skullmark Ladybug gives us 1,000 life points since we're using Toon monsters. Could probably use it. We have La Jinn, the Mystical Genie, and the Ancient Lamp, which the Ancient Lamp can special summon La Jinn, and the Ancient Lamp has the Reflect ability, which allows it to destroy any monster that, hits us, that tries to attack. And then we have Marshmallow, which is one of the best tank monsters out there. It can't be destroyed by battle, which is nice, and can help me establish strategies. Now, those are all my monsters, but as you'll probably guess, I do have plenty of spells and traps to help support it, including Toon Kingdom, Secret Rare. This is the revamped Toon World card. So all of the effects that made Toons broken in the anime are mostly present here. You can activate an effect that prevents your Toon monsters from being destroyed. Toon monsters aren't affected by spell cards while this is on the field. And it is a field spell instead of just an ordinary spell card. But I'm willing to bet you're sitting there thinking to yourself, and man, a field spell can be very easily taken care of. Don't you have a way to defend Toon World? That I do. We have the Toon Bookmark, which serves as a similar case to Toon Table of Contents. But the big thing about this is if Toon World would be destroyed, you can banish this card and protect your Toon World. So you can essentially search out Toon World and protect Toon World with one card. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. We also have Toon Page Flip, which is another really good card here. Which it's similar to Bingo Machine Go, which lets you pick 3 Blue Eyes monsters, and your opponent adds one to your hand, and the other 2 get shuffled back into the deck. Except this time you can summon that monster, regardless of its summoning condition. So if you have 3 Toon Blackluster Soldiers in your deck, that is a guaranteed Toon Blackluster Soldier. In my case, I could honestly go Toon Blackluster Soldier, Toon Dark Magician Girl, or Toon Dark Magician, and give up another Toon card, and boom, I have Toon Blackluster Soldier out. Then I also have 2 copies of Toon Table of Contents, because you can never have enough cards that just search out certain cards. I have one that's common, and one that is shiny super rare. We have Mimicat, which in the anime was called Doppelganger. This can copy any card your opponent has put into play, so including a monster or a spell or trap card. It was a lot more broken in the anime than it was in the game, but it's still a fun Toon card to have. I also have 2 copies of Toon World. Can't have a Toon deck without Toon World, even though its effects are pretty much broken by Toon Kingdom. Then we have Toon Rollback, which is the last of my Toon-based spell cards, which leaves us with a few spell cards left to show off. Let me bounce to the right side. In fact, let me put them all out for you guys. Just so you can see what strategies we have with these spell cards, specifically the spell cards. And then I have a few traps to show off. So we have Marshmallow Glasses, which is this continuous spell card that forces your opponent to attack Marshmallow only, which is fun. Harpy's Feather Duster, which destroys all trap cards on your opponent's side, spells and traps on your opponent's side of the field. Scapegoat for defense. Pot of Greed to draw 2 cards. I think that's what Pot of Greed does. I don't know. Nobody knows. Shrink, which has any monster's attack strength during any part of the phase, which can both be useful for you weakening your opponents and useful yourself for weakening your monsters, as you'll see with a certain card in my deck. Soul Exchange, which is very good for a deck like mine, in which case I can get rid of some powerful monsters just by getting rid of one of them and special summoning say, Mangariran to my side of the field. And then cost down, which of course lowers the level of a monster. So a level 6 monster can be a level 4 monster very easily, which means Toon Dark Magician Girl can special summon itself onto its side of the field. We have Toon Defense, which turns any attack against a Toon into a direct attack. Not the best card, but I do have another Toon card coming in, which is nice. We have Wabaku, which could work in effect in symbionts with it, in that that'll immediately cause all battle damage to turn to 0. Shadow Spell, which is an equipped card, which forces any attacking monster to lose 700 attack points and prevent them from attacking. Draining Shield, which increases your life points by the target's attack. Solemn Judgment, which gives up half your life points to immediately negate any card on the field, be it a monster's effect, a spell card, or a trap card. And last but not least, we have the Crush Card Virus. An eroded version of it, but still an effect, a trap card that if I sacrifice a Toon Mass Sorcerer, a Dark Rabbit, or my Lajin, or the Toon Cannon Soldier with Shrink, it can basically destroy an opponent's deck. Get rid of some really powerful monsters that they can't use, and yeah, it's pretty broken. Alright, so that is my Toon deck as it currently stands. Not flawless or perfect, but I am proud of it. And that basically is, like I said, the strategy of this deck. Get Toon World out as soon as possible. Just demolish your opponent with some devastatingly good effects. Blah, 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 blah. And then win the game. Of course, Pot of Greed isn't legal, even though it should be, because nobody knows what Pot of Greed does. Alright, so I will see you guys next time when I have a more complete version of this Toon deck. Don't know when that'll be, though, because who the hell knows. Until we meet again, my lovelies, I don't say that for this one. Stay classy, YouTube.